could tell this story a million times if I could, but the truth is, I break down every time I even think of speaking about it. This is the story of how I fell in love with a boy. The story starts when I was still only 13. In my country, high school starts with grade 8, and like most girls in that grade, I was eager to make the rugby captain in grade 12 fall in love with me. The only thing supporting me in the looks department was my long blonde hair reaching my hips, my big blue eyes, and my long skinny legs. But none of that even helped me considering that I looked like a square in my school uniform. The school year was off to a great start. I was making lots of new friends, meeting a lot of people, and pleasing every teacher I had. After sharing my first kiss with this boy called Kyle, I became obsessed with him, but soon forgot about him when I met one of his friends, Chris. He was as tall as the Empire State Building, and his hair was as blonde as mine. Even his eyes matched my color. We both held the tragic gene of being pale, something which shouldn't exist in South Africa, and it was quite funny considering the fact that he was meant to be Greek. I don't know why, but I had an immediate attraction to him. Chris looked kind of goofy, but he was still wildly attractive. One day, Kyle and his friend started making fun of me for being so pale, calling me a vampire and other nonsense. I grew up in a harsh family, so it didn't really faze me, but Chris stepped forward to tell his friends to stop it, and it just made me melt inside. However, we kind of just had different paths for a while. We'd occasionally text each other and would say hi in the corridors, but I didn't really care much until I stopped passing him in the corridors. I stopped passing him in general. Chris had vanished into thin air. Weeks turned into months before I had the courage to ask his friend where he'd been. I still remember how badly I wanted to vomit when he told me that he'd gotten cancer. He was a humble boy and liked to act tough, so we never spoke about it. I knew it was in his arms, muscles, and bone, and that he was being treated for it. We started speaking quite often, though. The end of the school year approached, and after our month-long holiday, I wish we got longer holidays, I was returning to school as a grade 9. However, Chris wasn't there. He had lied to me when he said he was coming back. The messed up thing is that people were starting to forget he existed, but we still spoke. He'd send me memes, be sarcastic, ask me about my day. It went on like that for a while before I really got to know him. I was developing feelings for him, and we started making plans to see each other. However, every time we tried, he always got too sick to go out. We were meant to go to his favorite restaurant, Jay's Diner, and he told me that we'd get starters for free since he's a family friend of the owner. I was excited. I was starting to fall in love with him. We spoke every day, sometimes had phone calls. I started to know more about his cancer. It was starting to disappear. He had a lot of surgeries. They had to cut out some of the bone and muscle in his right shoulder, arm, and leg. A plastic replacement was put inside in the meantime. In December, he was meant to get a titanium replacement put inside. I was happy, he was happy, I was in love. However, he disappeared in December. I sent him messages, but he didn't reply. And in January of the next year, 2 days after I started my grade 10 year, I found out from a friend of his that he passed away. I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. I don't know how I survived the school day. I must have cried through every lesson. I was breaking inside, and after a day or two, I had the courage to message his mom, introducing myself and so on. It was the best thing I ever could have done. She invited me to the funeral and I accepted. I was dressed and ready to go, but I just couldn't exit my mom's car, and I just broke down in tears. I couldn't even go to his funeral. I was so sad and I couldn't stop crying. My mom held me tight and understood, except she didn't, because she thought that he was just a friend, and she didn't know of the future Chris and I had planned together. No one knew. After a month or two had passed, things weren't getting better. I was tired all the time and I couldn't stop crying. And that's when Chris's mom had asked to meet me. One day, she came over to my house for coffee, and we immediately hit it off. I got to see the videos from his memorial service, and watched all of the eulogies. Of course I cried, and his mom cried with me too. She had told me that she knew who I was and that Chris spoke of me all the time. She knew that I was in love with him. She knew. So I cried even more. We said our goodbyes, but had already made another plan to see each other. I got to meet his sister, and she's actually a super awesome person and is only 2 years older than me. We go to parties together, and I consider her one of my good friends. They've become a part of my family now, and we're planning to go on holiday together sometime by the beach, and I can't wait. I know that meeting Chris was one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life, and knowing him was a gift from God. I know that there's a reason for everything, because it's all part of a master plan. Whether it's why you were late for catching the bus, or why you ate strawberry ice cream, it doesn't matter. All that matters is why you get to meet certain people, and how each person shapes your life differently. Cherish the moments you have with the people you love, and don't hold back any emotions you'll regret not sharing. Live every moment like it's the last. One day, Chris and I will cross paths again, and this time, I'm going to make every moment count. I love you, Chris, and I miss you more than anything in this world.